Imagine a place where folds of ancient rock roll gently around a quiet corner of England.
Where farmland mixes with woods and in secluded valleys clear rivers and streams run.
Where nature thrives across these connected networks of habitats.
Where layers of history are steeped into the land, from prehistoric and medieval fortifications to mining relics, and characterful villages and towns with vibrant communities.
Where farming feeds healthy people, supports a healthy environment and livelihoods, and is a mainstay of an economy that draws respectfully from and in turn supports the natural world.
Where visitors from all parts of society can come to enjoy breathtaking views, breath-giving fresh air, exercise and relaxation, tranquility and beauty.
You know this place already. It's the Shropshire Hills. What does it mean to you? You also know it's not quite as rosy as the picture I've described, which is partly how it is now and partly what it could be. In reality, global influences are affecting the area, directly through climate change and indirectly through geopolitics. The decline of nature hasn't yet been reversed. The transition of farm subsidies towards public benefits is proving to be a challenging and bumpy road. Housing and opportunities for young people are a challenge for our communities, and most people are very reliant on cars for transport. We aren't always on the best path. The Shropshire Hills is a national landscape, designated since 1958 because of its national importance, one of 46 in the UK. It covers a quarter of Shropshire and a small part of Telford and Wrekin. The local authorities have a legal duty to work in partnership to plan how to meet the statutory purpose to conserve and enhance the area's natural beauty. There is also a legal duty on all public bodies to seek to further that purpose. With government core funding from DEFRA and match funding from Shropshire Council and Telford and Wrekin Council, a staff team of currently 13 people, 10 full-time equivalent, is hosted by the Shropshire Council. With other external delivery funding, the total turnover for the team last year was over 2 million. The local authorities and partners try to chart a vision and path to that better future through a 5-year plan, which is a statutory plan, but doesn't in itself add any new regulation or restrictions, or indeed funding. We've titled the new plan for 2025 to 2030, Thriving in Balance with Nature. The plan's vision is built up from the elements of the living world of which we're part and on which we depend: stable climate, clean water, the land which sustains us, and nature. And thriving means our needs as people being met, the people who live and work in this rural area, and the many more who live close by and visit. And the vision sees the Shropshire Hills as a safe, healthy place where we can thrive in balance with nature. Under each heading, we have some more detail of targets from the Environment Act and other outcomes sought. This framework is derived from the well-established UN Sustainable Development Goals that define people's basic needs for peace and prosperity, and from scientific assessment of 9 planetary boundaries beyond which the environment may not be able to continue to self-regulate, and we may no longer have the stable conditions we need to live. Globally, 6 or maybe 7 of these boundaries have been crossed. These ecological and social aspects are combined in the donut economics model in a circle which helps us to consider future choices balancing multiple factors rather than, as so often, assuming that all our needs can be met by indiscriminately pursuing a one-dimensional goal of growth in GDP. The donut is a deliberately playful image for the serious business of guiding a better goal for prosperity in the 21st century. Taking this model down to the scale of the Shropshire Hills, the unrolled donut dashboard that we've prepared here shows using indicators roughly by how far we are overshooting various ecological ceilings and where we're falling short on some of the social foundations of meeting people's needs. The donut model links to similar ideas about how economies can deliver well-being, how they can be more circular and less extractive, how they can be fairer and more resilient. These tools can help us make the crucial choices about how we do things to lead to a sustainable future. This is relevant everywhere, but is at the heart of what protected landscapes have always been about, not trying to freeze in time a landscape that has always changed, but working out together what good progress really looks like. So what do we know about the state of the Shropshire Hills now? It's a mixed picture. The quality of our landscape is still high in a national context, but is under a range of pressures. Valiant efforts for nature are creating gains, but we're losing nature in other ways, and ecosystem functions such as water cycles, soil health and pollinators are reduced. Greenhouse gas emissions are falling, but only at half the speed needed to reach net zero even by 2050, and are higher than the national average. The amount of farmland managed under environmental schemes has fallen, and water quality in some catchments has declined. There are quite large inequalities in access to housing, work and services, and road transport is increasing. Activity that supports the Shropshire Hills national landscape is done by a wide variety of people and organisations, and that shared ownership and responsibility is vital. So please don't think of or talk of the national landscape as an organisation, as the team of staff or the partnership group. It's a landscape, a living, shared landscape in which everyone can have a stake and role to help look after it, and the we and the us should be as broad and inclusive as possible. There has been brilliant activity by many partners over the period of the last 5-year plan. Over 160 projects funded through the Farming and Protected Landscapes programme, work with farmers and community groups through the Stepping Stones project, work on upland commons, on ancient woodlands, on catchment headwaters, on natural flood management, and on the fabulous monument of Offa's Dyke. New hedge planting and carbon footprinting of farms, as well as young rangers, sustainable tourism work, Fix the Fort, Haymeadow festivals, Access for All projects, farm education visits, and much more. All this is great, but to meet the big challenges we face, we collectively need to do more, lots more. And we as society need to stop doing or realign the things which are going in the wrong direction and so effectively cancelling out too much of the good work. Though we can get away with it for a while, that which is not sustainable, by definition, will not be sustained. We can try to make that transition to a sustainable future in a relatively orderly way, or we can just crash out of control into the consequences of not doing that. So yes, we need to prevent further harm and to do more good things. But the environment shouldn't be thought of as a constraint. It provides the conditions conducive to our life and all life, and we simply can't live if we don't look after it. If we only aim to limit our impact, we're assuming we're always harmful to nature and can only hope to be less bad. In fact, we can make good interventions, not through trying to create nature ourselves, but by creating and nurturing the conditions in which nature and natural processes can flourish and recover, as they are inbuilt to do. By taking a positive vision of how nature and society can support each other, we can regenerate health, resilience, and thriving communities for ourselves and for the living systems on which we depend. The national landscape is protected through the planning system. This is in fact the only way the designation leads to any regulation. Everything else linked to it is achieved by partnership, support, advice and opportunities. Planning decisions are still made by the local authorities, and this is a key difference from national parks. But in policy, the two types of area have the same protection. Those wishing to do the many possible developments which work in harmony with the special landscape have nothing to fear. The planning system should only stop developments which cause harm. Often it does this, but in practice decisions sometimes have allowed developments which have been damaging. This basic protection for the national landscape is vital and needs to be supported and maintained. Of course, that doesn't mean no housing, no renewable energy, no new farm buildings, no road improvements. All these things are needed, but we should question and consider carefully how these things are done, at what scale, in what locations, with what resources and what designs. This is the difference between sustainable developments and those that cause harm. The plan is for the area and not for any single organisation. There is no single budget or programme for its delivery, and the plan doesn't add any new restrictions. The plan instead seeks to influence, guide, and suggest. In the uncertain funding environment we have, rather than setting out a schedule of actions which may not prove feasible, the plan summarises under each of the 6 themes existing legal responsibilities, and then sets out policies where a firm steer is needed, recommendations to guide, and aspirations, which are ambitions and ideas to pursue if the opportunity arises. There are lots of these, and for the chapter and verse you'll have to have a read of the plan itself. For now, I'm going to describe briefly just the main headline points under each theme. Under nature, the most important action is to create and restore habitats in a connected network, increasing tree and woodland cover, along with hedges, scrub, wetlands, meadows, and so on. This needs to integrate with farming and land management. We need to look after existing good habitats, help natural processes to work, and take targeted action for priority species. And we need to help people to connect with nature. Under climate, the main thing is to face up to the challenge, changing, preparing, talking about it, working together and implementing solutions. This means achieving big reductions in greenhouse gas emissions through technological, behavioural and structural changes in transport, in our homes, through appropriate deployment of renewable energy, and in land, where we also need to maximise carbon storage. We need to implement nature-based solutions at scale, work more on adaptation, and make sure the transition is just for all parts of society. On water, the plan calls for renaturalising our rivers and streams and managing their catchments in an integrated way, re-wetting suitable land in our catchment headwaters, holding more water higher up for longer to slow flood peaks and maintain flows in dry periods. We also need cleaner rivers and to reduce all sources of pollution and to make better use of water as a resource, including more rainwater storage. For land, the plan encourages the forging of a new sustainable future for farming, especially livestock farming in the uplands. A transition to agroecological forms of farming, looking after our soils and supporting the movement for a fairer and healthier food system with more local resilience. We need to ensure appropriate scales and types of built development on farms. We need support for the new skills needed in land management and for farmer clusters. And we need a sustainable forestry sector. For people, the plan supports meeting everyone's needs, including involving a wider range of people from all parts of society to enjoy the area and have improved health and well-being. We need investment in the access network to support walking and other sensitive kinds of recreation and to manage localised visitor pressures where they arise. We need to support greater understanding and learning and more opportunities for active involvement and volunteering. Finally, under place, the plan supports building a regenerative economy that positively supports the environment and meeting everyone's needs, valuing our cultural heritage, tranquility, dark skies, being more sustainable in transport and tourism, building communities and sense of place, making our built environment and infrastructure respectful of the character that people value, and supporting local action and positive interactions with the areas around the Shropshire Hills. These themes come back together, the package of actions complementing and supporting each other, making a coherent whole, building on the good things that are already happening and being more ambitious. There are short sections in the plan highlighting the particular characteristics and needs of areas making up the Shropshire Hills. The Stretton Valley and Hills, in the heart of the national landscape, with a major transport corridor and Church Stretton, the main town within the designated area. The Longmynd and Stiperstones area, with the biggest areas of upland and heath important for biodiversity and for recreation, alongside upland farming and the heritage of former mining. The Clun Forest and Valley, deeply rural and forming the catchment of the River Clun from the uplands on the Welsh border to the lowlands leading into Herefordshire, an important area for farming and heritage and fairly low-key for tourism and visitors. The Clee Hills, the other distinct upland farming area, also bearing the marks of quarrying and industry, with social and economic links to Ludlow and the more populated areas of Bridgnorth and beyond. Wenlock Edge and Dales, with the Edge itself being one of the finest limestone escarpments and the longest continuous woodlands in England, and lowland farmland around with many historic listed buildings. And finally, the Wrekin, right up against the urban fringe of Telford and Wellington, with woods linking to the Severn Valley and Ironbridge Gorge, and with Shropshire's most iconic hill. So, how is all this put into action? Public bodies now have a strengthened duty to seek to further the purpose of designation and to contribute to implementing the plan. This is an active duty, which means relevant authorities have to consider how any of their activities can actually help the national landscape and not just think about avoiding negative impacts. The management plan and the policies and recommendations in it are a key guide to what that means in practice. We're planning to modernise the partnership structures of the national landscape to enable closer working by the team with key partners and more inclusive ways of working with wider stakeholders. We're encouraging all partners to get familiar with the plan, help us through this consultation period to refine it, to consider how their activities can contribute, and to liaise with the National Landscape team. We, the team, are here to deliver some of the plan's ambitions, but also to enable, support and animate others and provide a degree of coordination. But there are only 13 of us. The dozens of organisations, the 65 parish and town councils, the 900 farmers, the hundreds of businesses, the 20,000 residents and over 3 million visitors a year can all play their part. And we think this is key to scaling up activity in support of the national landscape. This will be driven to a large extent by people's attachment to the place and their connection to nature, a shared sense of ownership and pride, and suitable skills and support strengthening people's motivation to act. Taking action empowers us, and action at all levels can develop synergies, each level reinforcing the others, not only leading to better environmental outcomes, but also benefits to people's individual well-being and stronger communities. A protected landscape is a microcosm with mostly similar issues to the wider world. How do we get better at judging what directions are good or not for the whole of society and for a healthy environment? How can we balance food production now with the need to maintain ecosystem functions so that future generations can live? How can we retain connectivity, services and quality of life without travelling so much in cars? How can we enable all parts of society to benefit from what the landscape offers? We're entering a challenging era where our survival and that of so much that we value in the world depends on these choices, where the assumptions of the past may no longer hold. Protected landscapes can inspire people through their experiences, enabling them to connect more to nature, to know and understand that we are part of nature and depend on it. In the face of the deepening ecological and climate emergency we are in, this could prove to be the greatest value of our special landscapes, as it can help to lead people to make more sustainable choices across their whole lives. And building on people's connection and motivation, we're forging a sustainable future through the values of collaboration, overcoming differences, and working together. So we're asking everyone, what can you, as an individual, your organisation, your community group, or your business, do to help ensure that we can thrive in balance with nature?
We're using some nature-friendly farming methods to enhance our farming business as Shropshire Hill farmers. I'm doing work in sustainable tourism in the Shropshire Hills as a placement for my degree course.
By keeping my dog on a lead during curlew and red grouse nesting time, and to help local farmers by buying local produce.
I'm enhancing wildlife habitats whilst producing quality food on my farm.
I've been doing conservation work for my Duke of Edinburgh Award.
We work with our local Shropshire Hills farmers to try to relocalise and build a more resilient food system.
I'm involved in 2 farmer cluster groups that look after land in the national landscape, and we're bringing farmers together to knowledge exchange around more environmentally friendly farming practices.
I'm helping to raise money and give grants to conservation projects.
On behalf of our parish council, I'm leading the initiative on nature recovery, and so far we've had a fantastic support from the local community.
We're maintaining the environment here, helping it make a lovely place for everybody to visit.
I'm doing a bird survey at Resting Hill for pied fly catchers.